Bring meeting to order at 5:33. First up is to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any comments?
I noticed something and I don't know if it's a big deal, but I think in the third line up from the first page, Cheryl and Cheryl are mentioned, one Cheryl Reardon and I think one was Cheryl in the office.
Bert asked who falls under the staff payroll.
Oh, yeah,
And so aren't
that does sound kind of confusing.
right. And
I-
So maybe
two
we should
spelled
put,
separately? Differently?
Cheryl's with an E.
Right.
Yeah,
So she
Cheryl's
spells
with an E,
that,
so we can just
and
correct,
she could put Cheryl B.
I just caught it because I had to read it a couple times. I was like, I think
That
makes sense.
Messes mine.
do I have a motion to accept
That's amended.
as amended?
as amended. Full motion?
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
First up, police department budget. Welcome.
Would you like me to do it from here or? first
You can
we
do
get-
it whatever you want.
Okay, I'll just sit right here. I think we got all of our seats full. So, I spoke with the board and we had a very productive meeting. We've come to some numbers, agreed on some numbers. And I think you'll notice that we've, budgeted for a 7th officer. And one of the ways that we can save some money there is trading the cost of a brand new car in 2025. We just will not purchase one. Are there any questions?
Did we have one scheduled to be purchased in 2025?
Yes, every year we allot for $60,000 for the purchase of an outfit of a new car.
You'll see, and because of COVID, things got a little pushed out, so you'll see where we have 2 2023s, 2 2024s. We have one that was due for 2026, so we're just trying to play around to get them back on the yearly cycle, so we're not buying 2 in 1 year again, so. If we can kind of fluctuate some between 6 and 7 years, it'll get us back on the schedule.
So you think we'll be okay without getting a new car this year?
I think I would rather put money into the cars that we have than roll the dice on a new one. I know we have some new 6-cylinder turbos out there and they're very expensive to repair if they go down. Ford has a product that's EcoBoost and or like a hybrid, and those are historically they've been in the shop a lot. And the state police are going with Tahoes, which are really big, probably a little too big for our main street. I don't know if that's the right choice, so if we wait a year, we can kind of see what the other departments are going through, and you know, if we get a little bit of a high mileage on some of the older cars, so be it.
We had also, the vehicle maintenance had been pushed back to 30,000, because we had budgeted $8,000 for a transmission. Or
Yeah, there was a scare last minute after we had approved our budget. We lost the transmission in one of the Chargers. And it was right after we had lost a transmission in one of the Chargers. I'm sorry, a motor in one of the Chargers. So upon receiving the car back, we have a transmission issue, and that didn't sit well with me. And I argued the point, and I said, well, it's time, you know, it's got 75,000 miles on it. It's gonna need a transmission. I said, no. You put a motor in the car and it comes back with a transmission issue, it's gotta be your fault. And so we went through Stellantis, who ultimately agreed, and they covered the cost of the repair, saving us $8,000.
So what we did, instead of taking that 8,000 out, we left it in there and we earmarked it for major repairs based on the selectmen's approval. So he'll be operating on a $30,000 budget, but there'll be $8,000 casers. Something that comes up.
So I get that you're not buying a car and you're using that for payroll instead, but I don't understand why the payroll's only $20,000 total.
How can that be?
So
Plus your raises should be in there.
when Yeah, so when I took over, there were some questions as to what the number of hours were going to be for overtime, or what the actual numbers were, because it wasn't clear to me, records hadn't been kept. And so we started out with, a lower number than I think that was previously budgeted, and I settled on 1,700 overtime hours. The officers work 45 hours a week, 2 of those hours are built in overtime. And ultimately, we usually expend all of that. And this year was brought to my attention that we're actually up to 1,900 overtime hours. Well, I reduced it this year to 1,300 overtime hours because I don't want to work any more overtime. I work consistently 20 hours a week in overtime and I don't want to do it anymore. So I'm not gonna. And that will effectively save $20,000.
And I think you'll find when you look at the actual and budgeted expenses, that Judy included for, as recently as today. You'll see that the payroll is down by 85,000.
Yeah.
And we only have a couple more weeks of
Okay.
payroll left, so.
I just wanna make sure you have
Yeah.
enough money so you don't get to the end of the year and be like, oh.
Yeah.
Well,
We
we're.
worked out a spreadsheet.
Every year since I've taken over, I've reduced the budget in some way. I haven't expanded it. I keep reducing it. And I think that this might be right down to the wire. Next year will be really close. And that's kind of where we want to be as a wonderful gauge. It's like, hey, we came in real tight. Let's add 10% to it next year and leave it there. And if we can just be consistent and everybody, the officers stay the same and we're not having to, purchase new equipment every year, I think we're gonna be in great shape. So the name of the game now is retention.
Is that looking good?
Well, officers today, they're being recruited on duty by other agencies.
Yeah,
And if they can see another $1 an hour, like, they think to themselves, why not?
right.
And off they go. We have it good here. We have a lot of very positive things to offer the police officers. Some of them being benefits, but the younger police officers don't care about benefits. They're single, they don't worry about going to the doctors. They're not interested in retirement. They don't think like that.
Yeah,
They see a dollar value. That's what they want is a higher pay rate. And also they want to work less. They don't want to work overtime. They're not doing details anymore. I think that we're in fine shape as what we have to offer, and if I am reading the board correctly, I think that we've given more than we should, or more than we need to everybody here on staff. And if it's just not good enough, then we can move on,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
We want people who want to be here.
right.
Any more questions for Chief? Thank you for coming.
Happy
Thank
to
you.
be
Just
here.
go one more.
He just has one more, but it's.
Oh,
it's
he's,
the same.
okay.
It's the same.
Next up, emergency management. Everything's status quo.
Yes.
I saw it. It was pretty cool. Gosh,
Chief, on the emergency management budget, it
Sure.
says you've got 7,200 for operating expense, and we spent 58,59. What was that spent on? I'm just curious. It's not a lot of money, but
For this year,
yeah.
there is hazard mitigation. We've contracted that out to June Garno. What is her business? It is-
Mapping,
Yes,
yeah,
Maps, I think it is, right? It's Maps.
something like that.
So we have a contractor that comes in and helps us with hazard mitigation planning. And it's done under a grant. So if we have enough people in attendance, enough folks from the town that are actually paid by the town, then we can match the requirement and that grant comes in and backfills all that money. What I spent money on this year is signage. I purchased some diamond warning signs. 4 of them in total. They sit on like a collapsible metal stand. You've probably seen them for surveying. The 2 of them will say road closed and 2 of them will say accident ahead. Plan on using it for those days when the river floods and we need to stop the road, but can't put an officer there.
Yeah.
So it says road closed, and if you go around it and sink your pickup truck, well, it said road closed.
All right, thank you. I was just curious. What that was used for.
People do that.
They do, yeah.
I just have a question, on your capital outlay, it has generators for 2025. Where is that $4,500 coming from?
I haven't made any moves to replace the generators. I think I put in that, in 23. That was a good time to, replace them. But I haven't had a need to run the generators, and they have very low hours on them. I haven't had the time to give them a once over this year and evaluate them, but they've all been stored dry in a service truck outside. And I have no reason to doubt that they would function this year without an issue. So there's really no need to buy new ones this year.
And we probably could work some of that out of the money that gets appropriated when you don't have a plan in there. If you needed to buy one or two.
Any other questions? Thank you.
No, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Next up, fire.
The big increase was gonna be payroll coming up. As you can tell, this year was 61.8 and and right now, I just did the payroll and it's 69,434. So I'm over $7,600. So that's why it's increased, but also, calls have increased, and on a good note, people showing up has increased greatly. We were getting down to a point where we were getting 2 to 3 people per call, unless it was a big fire. But now I'm getting 6 to 8 people, so it's a good thing. This is not, I know budget-wise, probably not a good thing, but it is a good thing to get these people here and interested in coming, and we got a couple of new guys that just, they hate if they miss something, so it's a good increase, and with the raise, that's why that's up. Everything else is the same. We got the last, this coming year, the last, battery operated extrication tool that we will need. It's 15,578. It's up from what I first told you for a budget a couple of years ago, but we knew it would be. I can't give a price this year and have it the same next year, and so that it is up, and that will be the last tool that we will need. Next year also, I'm gonna replace the mobile radio in ladder 1 and engine 2. On that note, the following year, I have 2 more radios I was gonna put in for, one for a pickup and one for the rescue truck. The pickup, we're hoping to replace it in 26, so that radio we can do in 26. But as you can tell, we're hopefully gonna put in for a rescue truck, and that we won't have until 2027. So it doesn't make any sense to buy one in 26 for it. So just so you know that might not only be put in for one radio in 26 and one for 27. On that note, I'm sure do you have the information on the rescue truck that we're gonna hopefully put in for this year, because it's 2 years out. So if we put in for now, we won't get it to 2027. We won't have to pay for it till 2027. But if we want to get it, we gotta order it now. If we wait till 2027, we won't get it until 29. So
John, the 14,300 for the radio, is that for 2 radios or for 1 radio?
Two radios.
So that's 7,000 apiece?
Yep. That's radio and installation.
This is probably a dumb question, but can you explain to me how payroll works in the fire department? I know they're volunteers, but they get paid when
They get paid per call.
Per call.
There's like an hourly
Okay, so as long as they show up for a call,
Yep.
they get paid.
Yep, and
Okay.
same thing here with, meetings, they get paid 2 hours per meeting,
Like the Wednesday nights?
yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
And it's a mandatory 2 hours that we pay them. as
Yeah.
per call.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If-
that's
Yeah,
the
cause
law.
if they
That's
show,
the
that's
law,
the
yeah.
law.
The law.
Yeah.
Yep,
Is there all different levels of pay scale as
Yes.
opposed to new one and?
Officers are
Yeah.
more, and then just a firefighter is,
Yeah.
a different, yes,
And do you ever turn away a volunteer?
well. No.
Very
There's been very rarely, I did have one that recently applied, and he lived in Campton, so my thought was, how are you gonna
Right,
make a call from Campton? By the time you get here, we've already done with the call and we're back. And I said, I don't wanna pay you just to drive up here, turn around and go back.
right.
I says, if you move closer, gladly come see me again, but until then, it doesn't make sense, so.
Yeah.
He was fine with that, understood it, so. but
So it
that's-
is an
that's been-
application process, so
Yeah.
it's not just they just show up on Wednesday and go, I wanna be fireman.
No,
what do you think?
lately I've been, if somebody comes, I say, come to a couple of meetings and see if this fit for you and see if, how you fit in with the guys and how we like you and stuff, and then
Right,
we'll do an application and go from there. Rather than waste our time and your time.
yeah,
Let's come to a couple meetings and, because everybody wants to be a fireman, but then when they come there and see.
you don't wanna actually do the work.
Yeah.
When they see what you gotta wear.
When the pager goes off at
everything, and
2 o'clock in
it's
the
like,
morning, they change their mind.
I'm hot, I don't wanna put that on.
Yeah. You gonna take this off?
I don't know, I have a 3-year-old grandson that loves to dress up as a fireman.
He'll be there soon, they have to
Take
be
him.
18 though.
16.
16,
right?
18.
It's 18?
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be years ago, if you were like a family member and stuff, we would let you come on at 16 and your father was responsible for you and stuff like that, but that's nowadays you can't do that, so it's 18. Any other questions?
Any other more questions? No, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Safe to know.
Thank you.
That's it.
I almost had a heart attack. I was looking at the schedule for the replacement vehicles. For the fire department. Holy smokes. And I know it's nothing, but like, how come like some of them be 4 times as much and other ones only double it? You know what I mean, over like
Yeah.
the same period of time?
Yeah, I don't
It seems like somebody's
know.
somebody's taking advantage of us, it seems like.
Yeah, because this last one you guys just purchased, or we just purchased for 800.
Yeah, but they have an active audience, like where you get, how many people make a fire. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, I mean, the
But
rescue's only double
what the
it.
equipment is as well, as far as like, that was a pumper truck, so there's a lot of moving components on it versus the. Rescue truck is a little more scaled down, it's just a box really
Yeah.
on the back of the truck,
It's a utility vehicle.
yeah,
yeah, what is the rescue truck? Is it just filled with tools? Is that what its purpose is?
all those are Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like, you look like the,
But
you
you
know,
need
the
it in a car accident.
No, yeah, yeah,
that's where your jaws of life. are.
yeah,
I believe, I don't know. But the boats and label boats and stuff.
But yeah, we got some big.
mm-hmm,
And some, some of the replacement on them is kind of one of those that has to, because it goes out of code, but some of them we've been, we can revisit a little bit, I think, and see if we can push it out. Maybe we could go another year and revisit.
has anybody ever talked about having a joint fire department? Oh, man, that's supposed to be that.
No, you don't. You forgot to-
It's been brought to at the selectmen level and discussed, and I think it was as last year, it was discussed and, there's thoughts on that, because it would have to go to a full-time,
I think it needs a study
and it definitely needs a study.
by a
And
neutral party.
there's concern about when you make that leap from, volunteer to a full-time and you only hire 2 or 3 people, you lose your volunteers, so all of a sudden you've only got 3 guys going to a fire when you have, like, in this case right now, you have 8 or 9. So it's really kind of figuring out what that would look like
Balances, yeah.
in that balance, so.
And they do cover, I mean, Woodstock goes to Lincoln.
And what's the-
Well,
It,
I
it,
just-
it does it, they
It's-
all do
I
it
think
for
you're
each
still
other.
gonna have. Potentially based, in the study may show differently, but I think you're still gonna have engines in 2 tanks.
I think you have to.
Yeah, but it's just.
So you'd still have
you
that
just
expense.
want this.
And they kind, you know,
Paying
so-
1.2 million for a ladder truck, you know, if Lincoln's.
we have one last
Exactly, I mean, how
yeah.
often do you use a ladder? Once a year maybe? What?
They're still being recorded, right?
Is there anything else to come before the meeting tonight? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Sarah and
Steve.
Steve.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.